thought,
Oh,
well, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That is correct. I can't count anymore.
it's Friday.
We are live streaming, it appears.
We are, because once you start it, I can't stop it without kicking everybody out and creating a whole new Zoom.
Well,
We're not doing that.
1, 2, 3, 4. Good morning, everyone. We will begin our meeting when we have a quorum of 7.
Friday.
We're just gonna be at ease until we have other members join us, which hopefully will be happening very soon. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. How come I thought we had 6 before?
I had the same math in my head, so I don't know. Must be something in the air.
It's that April Fool's thing we got going on. And I was wondering if Chairman Chiazzo could join us. He was I saw him in the group chat. Representative Sapika, do you have any?
Yeah, I just texted the chat again, and we'll see if Chris, or I mean, Representative Chiazzo or Representative Riley would be able to jump on real quick.
Excellent. I think I was counting Sam as a committee member earlier when I thought we had 6 and only needed 1 more. So it's April Fool's. I guess it's a nice joke. Everybody's watching. We're live streaming, so be careful with what comes out of your mouth.
Not every morning you have 3 analysts here to serve you.
Exactly. That is correct.
I know Representative Kinney's checking. I wondered if Representative Corey was probably in appropriations, but could, no?
Representative Corey said he could be here in about 20 minutes.
Oh dear.
He's the only one that's responded so far.
Okay.
Well, if we have to start at 9:30, we'll have to start at 9:30. But we're just at ease until we have 1 more committee member join us.
I'm in another meeting on the phone and they're waiting. So I'm just going to turn my camera off and I'll listen and watch when you need me. Okay.
Thank you, Representative Wood.
You're welcome.
And I am also going to turn my camera off so I can just do a few things while we wait. Representative Riley has joined us. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Representative McBride will join us, and Representative Wood is listening. So I expect that she will be able to join us. Good morning again. Welcome to the Joint Standing Committee on Veterans and Legal Affairs. Today we have several language reviews, which is the part of the process where we cross our T's, dot our I's, make sure that the amendments we're reporting out capture the intent of all of our votes. Happy April Fool's Day. We'll begin with committee introductions. Representative,
Good morning. I'm Representative Supika, and I represent House District 126, which is a portion of Bangor.
Representative McCray,
Good morning. I'm Jay McCreight, representing Harpswell, West Bath, and Northeast Brunswick in the House.
Senator Miramont,
Dave Miramont, representing Senate District 12, which is Knox County, except for the town of Washington.
Representative Wood,
Good morning, I'm Barb Wood. I represent House District 38, which is the western end of the peninsula in Portland.
Representative Kinney,
Good morning, I'm Mary Ann Kinney. I represent House District 99, which are 9 towns in Waldo County.
Representative Riley,
Hi, I'm Representative Riley. I represent House District 34, which is part of Westbrook.
and I am Craig Hickman, Senate Chair, District 14, 11 towns in Southern Kennebec County, including my hometown of Winthrop. We have with us here this morning, Darlene Semino, our clerk, and 3 analysts from OPNA, Janet Stucco, Sam Power, and Daniel Fox. Always welcome back, Daniel Fox. So with that, we're going to take this in whatever order the 3 of you would like to present these language reviews to us today. I have no agenda. So who would like to go first? Janet.
Yeah, if you don't mind, because we do have some people in the waiting room, so maybe out of respect for them. So to begin with LD 2029, an act to enhance the prevention of and response to sexual assault and sexual harassment in the Maine National Guard.
Sounds
With your
great.
permission, I'll share my screen.
Please do. Thank you.
So this is the amendment you voted for on Wednesday, and because it was just on Wednesday, this is preliminary language review because it hasn't been processed through the revisor's office. So you will see it look more formal once it gets through that process. So the first thing that the amendment does is it eliminates the provision that requires the Adjutant General to request an independent review by the Office of Complex Investigations. And you'll see where the review that has been arranged is going to be referenced later on in this amendment. But it removes the provision from the legislature directing that review to occur and replaces it with a review to be conducted by the Attorney General's office, which would address the manner in which law enforcement and prosecutors have investigated and prosecuted allegations of sexual assault or criminal harassment by members of the Maine National Guard against other members of the Maine National Guard. It's a 5-year period ending yesterday. So it's a retrospective look at how those allegations were handled in the past. And the review is very similar in language to what you saw before. It's just slightly restructured. So they will review the nature of each allegation, the information that was and wasn't available to law enforcement, both at the beginning and during the course of the investigation, whether the allegation was adequately and properly investigated by law enforcement. That language is slightly different from what you saw, but the Attorney General's office thought that this phrasing sounded a little bit better. It would review the results of the law enforcement investigation, how they were communicated to the prosecutorial office, and if appropriate steps were taken after that point. The results of the investigation, and if there was a request, whether the relevant officials of the Maine National Guard received the results. And then the 6th point, some of these are combined above, was to have recommendations for the future. And so that's built into the report provision, which is this paragraph below, so that by next February, the successor of this committee in the next legislature will receive a report about recommendations for future handling of such cases, and you'd have the authority to report out legislation. In Part B, the first section you'll see is eliminating the advisory council. And you'll see again, at the bottom of the amendment, how we deal with the fact that the governor's office created an advisory council. Section B1 is new, and this is the provision of current law. I'm just going to show it to you in current law for a second. So this is how you commence a proceeding for protection from harassment in state court. And it says in the introductory language, which you won't see in the amendment, that if you want to seek a court action, you file a complaint alleging the harassment, and you have to allege one other thing. And one of the things you could allege is that there's been a notice, if you look here, a notice to stop harassing the plaintiff that was issued to the defendant, And we're adding language here to cross-reference the provision that was already in the bill about a commanding officer from the National Guard's notice to cease harassment. So that could form the predicate of filing a complaint in state court. And all of these are provisions of the bill that aren't changed. These are the crime of harassment that's in the main criminal code. We're moving an or here, so that's not important. But as you remember, the bill includes that the crime of harassment could occur if someone continues to engage in a course of conduct that constitutes harassment after having been informed by their commanding officer in the National Guard to stop doing so. The next new provision is here. All of the new provisions are shaded, and this is in the, I'm going to get the name right, Maine Commission on Domestic and Sexual Abuse. This is the provision in 19A, Title 19A about that commission. And if you remember, you are adding someone from the military community, so you decided to reduce the number of members at large so that there wouldn't be more than 36 members. And when we get to the bottom of the amendment, you'll see that there's a provision to make sure that whoever is currently a member at large wouldn't be kicked off the committee. They could fill out their term. And originally, your committee bill said that the Adjutant General would appoint someone to this commission and they'd be a representative of the National Guard. And instead, you all directed me to say that it would be a member appointed by the governor, who is a member of the military community with experience in sexual assault response. So that's the changed language. The next part, section B9 of the bill, is being amended. This is the provision about travel reimbursement. And originally, that travel reimbursement would be given to someone who was either a current or former member of the National Guard, who's the victim of sexual assault or sexual harassment while a member of the National Guard. And it would have applied to state criminal or civil court proceedings involving that assault or harassment, as well as Maine Military Code of Justice proceedings. You directed me to change that to provide for the travel reimbursement for administrative or Maine Military Code of Justice proceedings. And this was at the request of the Adjutant General, and you directed me to adopt that language. So that's what you see here. The next provision of the bill is the provision about a cooperative agreement with Maine CASA. And so you're just taking it out of being required by legislation. Taking it out of the bill does not in any way prevent the Adjutant General from entering such a cooperative agreement. It just makes it not in statute as a requirement. The next section is section B11, and we're just changing the number because you got rid of the provision above. And this is the annual report. So you have to remove the language about the coalition with which there's a cooperative agreement under law because you've got rid of that requirement. It does not mean the Adjutant General cannot consult with that coalition in developing this annual report. It's just not going to be required by statute. The first item in the report is the data, and there had been some concern expressed about some federal regulations limiting the way that that data could be shared. And so you directed me to add that the Adjutant General could comply with those federal regulations in sharing the data with you. And then the language at the end is to indicate that if necessary, there could be some summaries of data if that's necessary to protect the identity of victims. You'd still have a description of the training that would still be in the annual report. There'd still be a description of the current practices and procedures for prevention and investigation of sexual assault and sexual harassment in the National Guard. But then at the bottom here, this was a provision we discussed. It wasn't exactly clear to me that you wanted this, but people seemed very favorable to it. So I wanted to explain what I did here. I think it's what you wanted. So there would be a summary of the activities during the preceding year of any advisory council or special study group convened by the governor or the department, or in which officials of the department have been asked to participate. And we're talking about the Department of Defense Veterans and Emergency Management. And if the duties of that study group or advisory council involve, at least in part, examining or making recommendations regarding the prevention of or response to sexual assault and sexual harassment in the National Guard. So then in the annual report, the Adjutant General would report to this committee whatever the activities of such a study group or advisory council were. Or if there wasn't such an advisory council or special study group, then that would be reported to this committee as well. And then because the committee can report out legislation, this is the provision that we discussed, where if, for example, the governor executive order establishing the advisory council on military sexual assault, that's not the name, but I'm just summarizing there. If that is disbanded sometime in the future, you would be told affirmatively, that would be in the report, and this committee would have authority to report out legislation in response to that statement. So that's that provision. The next thing is the elimination of the creation of the advisory council in this bill, because you would have the authority to create an advisory council in the future if the one created through the executive order is disbanded, for example, or if you wanted a different advisory council with different duties, for example. The next provision is section B13, and this is adding to the main code of military justice a military offense of harassment, and that is harassment as defined in the criminal code. And as you remember, this bill amends that definition of harassment to include continuing in the course of conduct that constitutes harassment after having been ordered by a commanding officer in the National Guard not to do so. So that would become a military offense. And this is modeled on exactly the way all of the other military offense statutes are written. So it looks like you can only have discipline through a court martial. But if you look at Title 37B, and I can show it to you if you want, there is a provision about non-judicial punishment, and that would be implicated here as well. So even though the way all of these statutes are currently written, and it's just mirrored here, it talks about punishment at court martial, there's also non-judicial punishment, and that would equally apply to this offense.
A question about that, Janet?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. The amendment says 37, that means 37B?
Oh yes, that'll be fixed. Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the kind of thing the revisor's office always catches, but I'm gonna send it to them as well, now that you've caught it as well.
And is it possible, I'm not married to it, but is it possible to enact the section as 461A instead
I
of?
can ask, they may ask us to put it at 463, but I
Okay.
can certainly ask.
Thank you. I'm good.
Okay, I wrote that down. So then the next provision, I just copied this. If you remember, there was some discussion that the Maine Commission on Domestic and Sexual Abuse recently, within the last couple of years, added some tribal members. And when they did so, they reduced the number of at-large members to allow for the tribal members to not bring the total over 36. This is the language they used in the transition provision to prevent any currently existing members of the commission from being kicked off when you reduce the number of at-large. So this is, I just copied exactly that language here to say that if you're one of the 4 at-large members, you can finish your term, and then the Maine National Guard member could be added. So there might be 37 members for a little bit, depending on when the terms end, but eventually there'll be 36 members, one of whom is the member of the military community. And then section B15 would add to the annual report that's going to be required in this bill just for the first time on February 15th, 2023, a requirement that the Adjutant General include within that annual report a copy of any report from the Office of Complex Investigations regarding its evaluation of the Maine National Guard, and then all of the language after that I took from the letter from the National Guard Bureau on what they were going to study. So this is just, you'll see the policy and procedures with regard to sexual assault prevention and response programs, sexual assault investigation, sexual harassment, equal opportunity programs. That is the exact language used here, so that you can capture what the office did say that it would conduct an investigation of for the Maine National Guard. And in addition, you'd be directing the Adjutant General to include in that first report a copy of any report submitted to the governor by the advisory council under that executive order, so that you would have that information as well. And then the summary just explains why certain provisions were removed. For example, you got rid of the Office of Complex Investigations, and then instead you're going to get the report that's being prepared otherwise. So I tried to kind of, you're not supposed to justify in the summary, but I tried to connect the dots for people to understand why certain things were happening.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Are there any questions from the committee for Janet on the language review of LD 2029. The chair recognizes Representative McCray.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Janet, just to clarify for me, we don't need the OCI in there because it's happening otherwise. Is that right?
Well, that's really a policy question for why you did that, but that was my understanding of why you did that.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Representative. I have invited General Farnham to join us this morning. General, if you could please introduce yourself. I just have a quick question for you.
Okay, Doug Farnham. I'm the Adjutant General for the state of Maine.
Thank you for being here this morning, General. I wanted to just find out if, based on what you've seen and heard so far, that the language review of this amendment meets what we all intended to do when we agreed on these provisions.
Okay, Senator. I before I answer that question, which I will, I want to throw it. It's not just April Fool's Day, but today is actually the 1st of April, the start of Sexual Assault Awareness and Prevention Month. Not just for the military, but for, across the board. So, so it's a, been a big topic, but it's also something that's very visible in a lot of places, particularly this month. So, and I also need to shout out to Danielle and say it's good to see Danielle on the screen. But Senator, yeah, absolutely. I think a lot of good work went into this, and we are satisfied. I can't speak to some of the specifics of the harassment in the protection order stuff if it actually meets any of the needs, but it certainly meets our intent of what we wanted to do. But other than that, good work. Thank you.
Thank you, General, and thanks for the serendipitous comment about what this month is. I see Senator Farron has joined us. Senator Farron, if you would like to introduce yourself, that would be great. Putting you on the spot a little bit. Seeing if you have any questions or concerns about the language. Maybe he can't hear me yet.
I can absolutely hear you. Thank you, Senator Hickman. Apologies for being late, juggling a bunch of things like everybody else, but no, what I've gone through, and appreciate the great work that everybody's done on this, and appreciate the opportunity to weigh in. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Senator. I just wanted to make sure you were here for that. So if there are no other questions or comments about the language review for LD 2029, we will instruct Janet to move that through to the revisor's office for final review, and we'll see that as well before the bill is reported out.
Yeah, via email. And then I did just want to remind everybody in the room to send me your priority list and read the notes before you do so you know what you might want to vote for or might not need to vote for.
Thank you, Janet. Crossing T's and dotting I's. Great. So thank you, General Farnham, for being here again today and for your cooperation and collaboration on this process. We know that you intend to do right by all of the people who serve under your command.
Thank you, sir.
Have a great weekend. So what is next? Who's next? Danielle or Sam? Danielle, you're next? Okay, great.
Thank you, Senator Hickman. I have the straightforward bill that you did with regard to allowing outdoor stadiums to sell spirits. So I did send that to you all by email. So hopefully it's at the top of your email box, but I'm also happy to share my screen if that's okay.
Please do. Thank you.
Can you see that?
Yes.
Okay. So last I heard, this was a unanimous report of the committee. I didn't double check with Darlene, but I think that this is a unanimous report of the committee. And it's LD 2031, an act to allow outdoor stadiums to sell spirits. The first thing that the amendment does is change the title. So I heard you, Representative McCray, that we need to change the title to include pool halls. That reflects the amendment of the committee to add pool halls to this bill. The first section of the bill recognizes that the original bill added spirits to the allowances under an outdoor stadium definition, but it also makes some technical corrections to align it with your big errors bill, 28A errors bill, LD 1643. So those additional changes there beyond just the adding of and spirits, are to make it consistent with the changes that are in LD 1643. The next sections 2, 3, 4, and 5 just provide for that those licenses that list which premises are eligible for those licenses. It adds outdoor stadiums and pool halls to a Class 1 license, and a Class 1 license allows a premises to sell beer, malt liquor, wine, and spirits for on-premises consumption. And so we've added outdoor stadiums and pool halls to that where they're not listed now. And then we've also added those two premises to a Class 2 license, which are a spirits only license. So depending on what the entity wants to serve, they can do all three. They could do beer, they could do wine, so they have all the combinations available to them now by adding them under these licenses. And then the last section of the bill, it also provides for some of the changes that are in 1643. So it aligns the changes made in this bill with those in LD 1643. And it remains an emergency bill, so that's still within the bill, so it remains an emergency measure.
Thank you, Danielle. Are there any questions, concerns from the committee on this language? I know that Anya Trundy from DAFS is in the attendees, so I'll just ask her if she objects to any of this to raise her hand, and we will invite her in to hear the objection. But I see no objection from the department, and so unless no one has any other concerns, Danielle, please prepare that to be reported out. And Darlene, you may report it out as soon as it's ready to be reported out. Thank you.
Thank you. Have a nice weekend, everybody. I'm going to sign off now.
Thank you. Have a great weekend.
Okay.
Good to
Bye-bye.
see you. Bye-bye. And so, Sam, sounds like the floor is yours.
Thank you, Senator Hickman.
Elimination.
Thank you, Senator Hickman. And as my previous two colleagues did, I'm going to share my screen here. So I have for the committee 1 language review and 3 fiscal note reviews. And we had for bills that we had already done language review on, but we received the fiscal impact information after. So I wanted to make sure that was in front of the committee as well. So the first here is the language review. This is for LD 1784, an act to ensure legislative review of rules for Maine's Medical Use of Marijuana Act. And this amendment was pretty simple. As the committee will recall, it the only real change here is that, oh, and sorry, I should back up, as just to refresh the committee's memory. So this is the bill that requires that major substantive rules for the medical marijuana program may not be finally adopted by the department unless legislation authorizing the final adoption of those rules is enacted into law. And the amendment simply puts a 3-year sunset on that provision. So as you can see here, we broke it out from the original bill into its own paragraph, because that's how we deal with self-repealing. We have to be able to identify the piece that's going to self-repeal. And you can see it says this paragraph is repealed on November 1st, 2025. So that is just to create the 3-year sunset requested by the committee. I guess before I move to the fiscal note or lack of one, I just wanted to know, is there any questions about this from the committee members?
Thank you, Sam. Are there any questions from the committee about this very straightforward language? Darlene, I think a few people may be emailing you to get a link just in case they wanted to come in, and not necessarily on this bill, but if you could check, that'd be appreciated. Anyway, if there are no questions or concerns here, I will also say I see the department as well in the attendee list. If you have any objections, Ms. Gabby Pierce or Director Gunderson, at least to the language, I know that this is a policy decision of the committee, but just to make sure, seeing no objections, Sam, we can prepare this bill to be reported out. Is there a fiscal note on this?
So that was the next thing I was going to just scroll down to. And as you can see, we have a preliminary fiscal impact statement that indicates no fiscal note required. So
excellent.
All right.
Thank
So,
you.
yeah, moving on to the next one.
And you can report that out whenever it's ready to go.
Okay, great. This was the fiscal note we received for LD 1985. This is the majority committee amendment for an act to improve testing requirements for adult use marijuana. And as you can see, the fiscal note indicates a minor cost increase to the general fund, but also notes that that the department anticipates that the minor costs can be absorbed within existing budgeted resources. And moving on again.
And so LD 1985 is ready to be reported out, or when it is ready to be reported out, Darlene, please report it out. Thank you.
All right. Sorry. So again, this is another bill, 1957, that we had already reviewed the language for with the committee and received a fiscal note. As I noted in the email notifying the committee that we will be doing the fiscal note review, the title for this bill has been updated based on the committee's amendment. So it now reads, "An act to promote equity and increase opportunities in the cannabis industry by reducing restrictions related to convictions for drug offenses and to replace the term marijuana with the term cannabis in the main revised statutes." And as the committee will recall, the original bill had struck disqualifying drug offense throughout the statutes. And now that offense is being reduced. The look back for that the offenses are being reduced from 10 years to 5. And as you can see, again, here we have a fiscal note indicating a minor cost increase to the general fund. And again, the department has indicated that the provisions of this bill are expected to be minor cost increase that can be absorbed within existing budgeted resources.
Thank you. Are there any questions from the committee about the fiscal notes LD 1957? Seeing none, it may be reported out as soon as it's ready.
All right, one last one for now, if I can access my tabs. Here we go. All right, so this is the fiscal note for the majority committee, the unanimous committee amendment to LD 619. And again, as I noted, we already reviewed the language for this bill, and the title, it will be updated when the bill is printed to read, "An act in honor of Representative John L. Tuttle Jr. regarding eligibility for burial in the Maine Veterans Memorial Cemetery System." So this is just a quirk of how our fiscal notes get printed in the first instance, that the original title is still there. And again, this is a fiscal note indicating a minor cost increase to the general fund. And again, the fiscal note notes that costs associated with rulemaking can be absorbed within existing budgeted resources.
Are there any questions about this fiscal note from the committee? Seeing none. Thank you, Sam. So where are we with the rest of our work? Any updates? Of what have we left in our possession to see language reviews for?
I can't speak for Janet, but I can just look through my list and tell you the ones that I have left. So we'll still have 1827 for language review, and that is the delivery, the majority and the minority reports on the delivery and curbside pickup amendments.
Yeah.
We still have 1928. That's the adult use, medical use marijuana bill based on the agreement between the department and Maine Cannabis Coalition. And I think for me, and I think also 1817, which the title of which is eluding me at the moment. Sorry, let me just pull it up. Right, this was the majority and minority amendments for the group tracking bill.
Okay.
Then I still have a number of fiscal impact statements that I'm waiting on that I will also be reviewing with the committee as well when they come in.
Great. Good to know. So you've got 3 left for us, plus some fiscal note reviews. Today is the last day we can meet as a committee, so we will be doing the rest via email. So everyone look out for those. And Janet, if you're still here, do you have any updates on what we still have left in your work?
Just a second. In my work, there's 1643, the errors bill. One sec. Oh, maybe there's a whole. It looks like the other things I have are judiciary.
Okay. So we've got 4 bills in our possession left to have final language reviews and then fiscal reviews as required. We're almost there, everyone. Are there any questions or concerns from the committee? Thank you, Sam and Janet, for, of course, your hard work getting us completed and ready to go. Anyone else on the committee have anything to add? Say this is our final meeting from the committee, unless we get a confirmation hearing between now and when we adjourn. So I probably ought not say that, but this is our final meeting for now. If no one has anything else to say, no questions, I would say again, happy April Fool's Day. And it is serendipitous that this is the first day of Sexual Assault and Sexual Harassment Awareness Month. And thank all of you again for the work that we are doing on that very important and vital issue. I hope everyone has a great weekend. Senator Farron, did you want to say anything to close us out?
No, sir, I am good. You got the helm.
All right. Well, in that case, everyone have a great weekend. The Joint Standing Committee on Veterans and Legal Affairs stands adjourned.
Thank you. Bye, everyone.
Bye. Thank you.